Sometimes they change interface stuff and you don't know what the hell you're looking at because then it pops up with a little like confirmation button there. Are you sure you want to do this? I'm like, where was this before? Why is this here? Why are you doing this now?
To keep people from inadvertently pressing the button while they still have their pants off during a Zoom meeting.
But this isn't a Zoom meeting. This is
Totally not a Zoom
streaming
meeting.
to real services and stuff like that. It's not just
Oh,
Zoom.
fine.
So
That
uh
would be even better.
oh, you think
Have
maybe?
the thing start and all you see is somebody bent over trying to figure out how to pull their pants up. Yeah, that would be awesome for the first episode.
Figuring out how to pull their pants up.
Yeah, it's hard. Pulling up pants is hard.
The pants are, what kind of pants are you ready? Are you wearing?
Anti-gravity pants.
Anti-gravity pants.
Anti-gravity pants.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea. Terry, make that shit happen.
I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, make a note of that.
It's a new year. Welcome to the new year, everybody.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. This is
Hi.
Veronica Jaguar has joined us. In case you didn't get the didn't get the message in a previous episode, V is now a permanent member of the Dev Robot Society.
Against my better judgment.
Against her
You were
better
warned.
judgment.
I know.
She was warned. You know
I
what it
was
was
warned.
is we got her really drunk in Vegas, and we're like, "Here, sign here. You're gonna join up with the Dev." That's not how it happened at all, but that's how it happened in my head.
Right.
But we know I don't live in reality, so it's all good. Terry was trying to figure out what a season number for this was because I had waffled about seasons, but nobody seemed to understand what the hell I was saying. So I'm gonna give it up. For right now, I'm giving it up.
Actually, you're the only one that didn't understand. Everybody else caught on.
Anyway, it's a new episode, it's a new year, and here we are, and we have all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm Paul E. Cooley. There's Terry Mixon to my right or left. I don't know if you're seeing the same screen I am. And Veronica, for some reason, because she showed up third, she's in the third spot. That's how that works. Then again, she's in the third chair. That's the one we got trip mined. That's the old joke is there's a hand grenade or some kind of mine beneath that chair. And
or like an ejection seat.
yeah, it's like, we've had to detonate it many, many times over the past decade. How long have I been on the show? It's been over a decade. I've been on the show.
If we were doing this show by seasons, this would be the 17th year in which the show is taking place.
This show is longer than this show is older than two of my children.
And I've been on this show for 16 years.
Oh.
I obviously don't have enough hobbies.
Well, now that I've made all of us feel that much older.
See all this white hair? That's this show right
Terry,
here.
you look like that when you were 30. You cannot blame the show for this.
Oh, that is totally not true. I did not look like this when I was 30.
Oh yeah, but neither one of you have an entirely too honest 16-year-old at home who came up to me because I stopped dyeing my hair about a year ago because I'm cheap. And so I have very like fine white, stuff on the temples. When it goes all gray silver, it's gonna look awesome. But right now I just look tired. And he came up to me, he goes, "So Mom, you've decided just to go natural and not do anything with this hair?" And I looked at him and like, was that a dig? Am I supposed to be doing something? Or are you trying to be nice? And he's like, "Just saying." Like, just saying, I know where you sleep.
And I know who feeds you and clothes you
and drives you and pays for stuff and works. So he can pay for some of his stuff, but damn.
So apart from children being unruly, what the hell's up in your world?
My world, damn. Lining up work. So lining up narration work for the first and second quarter, which is going really well. Writing, because I do collaborative writing. So I got 2 projects that I'm working on. One is with the same crew that I wrote Secret World Chronicle with, and the other is just with one of the authors there. One is, I guess they both fall under urban fantasy, but they're different types of urban fantasy. Other than that, and then wrangling children. that this is my life.
Out of the mouths of babes and trunks. Thank you,
And
Matt.
which one is Paul?
Yes.
He's both.
Yes.
I played with Leo earlier, and now he is convinced that it is playtime, so even when I put him down, he comes running back up for more.
Go figure. And now
No,
he's
Dad,
biting
I
and
want to be
eating.
the third chair. I
Yeah,
got things
so
to say.
Mr. Catman. What are you up to besides cat wrangling?
I am one chapter away from finishing the draft in progress.
Wow,
Yes.
nice. Congrats.
36 days of writing, and I have written 125,000 words in those 36 days.
Nice.
Very cool.
Now I'll lose 15-ish% when I start editing, because that's the way it works for me.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I didn't cut that much this time, though. That's all you had to report?
Lots of things. It's cutting a sentence here. It's cutting a word there. It's cutting this little here. That ends up being 15% of the total.
Yeah, what happens when you cut a character or a subplot?
I've done that before. I would rather not do that ever again. I got Veronica to give me that look. I wrote a point of view character into a book and then decided a third of the way into it that I didn't want to have that point of view character because there wasn't enough to do. And then I had to go back and I had to move the important parts to a different point of view character.
But you were only a third of the way through. It's not like you got to the very end and realized, oh, this is superfluous. Let's get rid of this. Yoink.
Yeah, that would have been worse. But going through a chapter and changing the point of view is a huge pain in the butt.
Shouldn't Terry's tagline be Terry Cat Herding Mixon?
It should be, but
they don't have enough characters
I'll change
available.
it. Oh, they've got plenty of characters. I got to see if they got any cat emojis that I can put in there.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Well, I guess since last time we talked, I finished An Ancient Trap. So it's done. And we're up to chapter 16 for the patrons. It's been beta read by one person. There's 2 other people beta reading it. And I'm working like hell to get the recording done as quickly as possible so I can put the rest of the stupid book to bed. So then I can figure out what the hell I'm going to do with it. Because I still haven't made up my mind, but I'm leaning more and more toward going the indie route at this point. Leaning more and more toward it, but I just don't know. I think, scarily enough, unless I'm very much wrong, and my patrons need to tell me this, I think the audio that I've been giving them is probably good enough for Audible and etc. More than good enough for, stand up with professional is what I mean. So I've been doing a pretty good job with it. So maybe I've already done all the goddamn work except for pro editing and paying for a cover and layout.
There's a lot of technical aspects to submitting to Audible that, even though it may sound good, it may not meet their criteria. So
their criteria are
that will. Yeah, it will.
Because their criteria are like bottom. Like, it's the bare minimum.
As V can attest, once you create the right template to record to, and you check your levels before you go, as long as you hit that 16 RMS and that 2.0 peak, you're in great shape. It'll work in any place, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. And if you if you can't, then you know exactly what your editing and mastering chain needs to be to bring you to that level.
Yeah, I just now figured that out after how many years I've been doing this. I just now figured that out in this last book. So yeah, good on me. I've got one of the most powerful audio DAWs in existence, and I barely know how to use it. I'm just a clever monkey banging on keys. So that's me. But I finished An Ancient Trap, and after 3 days rest, got immediately into Gravity's Bane. So I'm writing the second series in Soul and Beyond. So this takes place right after the Derelict Saga ends. So picking up that, I've written 18,000 words this week. I think 18,000 words this week. I'm pretty sure that's right. Nice. So I'm averaging, 2 to 3 a day. And as long as I keep that pace, it's going to be very familiar with Ancient Trap as fast as it gets done, because I know I'm going to have more 5 or 6K days like I did last week or this week. So story's moving fast, and I'm doing the Terry Mixon.
Is that a dance? Because, I don't know if I want to see that.
The Terry Mixon Howdy, Roland. The Terry Mixon is where you say, yes, I know exactly what I need to do with these people, and I think I know where they're going to be at the end. Let's not sweat the details. Let's just go and see where this takes us. Although I outlined, some former incarnation of Paul E. Cooley outlined these books, except for the third book. The first two books are outlined. When I found that document, I can't tell you how pleased I was. And I just listened to the DRS episode today where we talked about that, because I was looking for something where I talked about that, the fact that I'd outlined it. It's pretty damn funny. Oh, wow, it was weird. Anyway, I've got everything in my head that I need to go on. All I'm doing is filling in scenes here and there and adding complications, and the book just grows. So I'm kind of excited about this. Not as excited as an Ancient Trap. I think that's a really good book. But I'm pretty excited that I get to slip in with these characters again, see what they've been doing, and take them back out into adventures, because I missed them. I missed my AIs, and I missed my meat sacks. So we'll see where that goes. It's a derelict thing. Hush.
I say nothing.
So that's what I've been up to. So now my question is, what went on in the news this week, Terry?
That's a big thing. If we want to go ahead and talk about Apple and their endorsing AI narrated books, I think that's a great place to start. Now, I already see that Veronica is slapping down the caps lock key, so this is going to be good.
She's going to break the caps lock key.
Break the caps lock key.
She doesn't need that. She's just got, you know what you needed to get? We all need to get soundboards. I mean, it'll take us forever to teach Terry how to use one, but we all need to get soundboards, because I think this would be great for, and now we have Veronica's moment of rage.
I don't rage. I just, plot revenge and demise and then wait until the opportune moment. It's a Scorpio thing. That, there's a cat yelling someplace.
Is that how that works? I've been a Scorpio my entire life, and I've never figured that out.
You do horrible things to your characters.
We all do horrible things to our
But
characters.
I don't wait for it. I just do it.
I have to drag it out. It says, "Bring on the rage." They can handle it.
Oh no! Some people just have a soapbox. I have a pedestal that has been bedazzled for years and
built a
years.
platform.
Oh my God! A pedestal that has the word "rage" bedazzled on it. That would be totally good.
With a little matching megaphone.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right. Basically, as I understand it, and from what I read, essentially what Apple's going to do is they're going to offer a service where you can essentially have your books go in and be read by, and God, I fucking hate the term, AI software system. Yes? That is essentially.
They have, in fact, already done so. This is not a prospective thing. They already have books that they have released that have done so.
Okay, so with that in mind, now that everybody knows what we're talking about, Veronica.
Okay, so this whole thing has been a discussion within the narrator community for more than a year. AI comes into everything, and you have AI generated images, you have AI generating chat, people are using it to generate story plots. And it's being touted as a cheaper alternative, meaning that getting a human voice to perform your book is too expensive, and you just need to get AI to read it. And the different verbs, because verbs are important. AI just reads it.
Yes.
It has not gotten to the point where it can perform it. And there are, for a lot of genres, especially sci-fi, especially fantasy, anything that is emotion driven, you have to perform the work to get something out of it. And AI is not there yet. And I was having this discussion with the Mighty Ginger, and he was like, well, somebody could program it. And I'm like, yeah, but in the time that it would take them to go through the entire script and program it and figure out the level of emotion you need and the sort of, pauses you need between, certain sentences, hire the human.
Hire the human. It's going to be
hire the human. And people are like, well, it's almost as good. People don't really care. I'm just going to listen to it on 1.5 speed anyway. Sure. Some people are going to buy dollar chocolate and think it's great. That's fine. There is a time and place for dollar store chocolate. But if you are investing your money, if you want to present your work, go for the high-end stuff. Go for the Godiva chocolate, the Ghirardelli, the Toblerone. Go for the high-end shit. Sorry, stuff. I don't know what
you can use that word. We've heard it before.
Good.
On this show where I've said fuck at least 37 times per episode, you're worried about shit?
Keep in mind, my background is working as a civilian contractor for the Navy and entirely too many years in theater and higher education. I know all the good words.
Yeah, you're boned.
Feel free to use the good words. You are not restricted.
You're fine.
I don't want to scare everybody.
We are a walking content warning. Don't worry about
it. She's coming on board to try to keep us in line. Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
I will not be part of the solution. I will be part of the problem.
There you go.
The heck with that.
So,
but it's like, we talk about covers. Like, you don't want a crappy cover for your book. The voice and the performance for the work are just as important. Do you want a crappy voice? Because the minute somebody listens to that, and if you're writing a series and you're trying to get that listener or reader in for the whole series, and, they cut out after a half an hour because it sounds terrible, and clearly you don't value your work enough to invest in a better performance, why should they invest in, their hard-earned money in your work? That is my take on it. If life is too short for bad chocolate and bad coffee. And if you're putting all this, blood, sweat, and tears into your work, life is too short to misrepresent the work you do and the work that you create.
I have a technical question about this. Some jurisdictions have already ruled that AI-generated art is not copyrightable. Would the same be true of AI-generated audiobooks? Are you giving up your copyright in certain jurisdictions because of that?
No, I think it's two different things.
I know. I just thought I know the answer to the question. I'm raising the question so that the answer can be given.
Yeah.
It's not, because it's the work itself. So the work itself is still copyrighted. The performance is different, and it's not that AI art winds up being an amalgamation. So it's stuff you have a program in AI learning, and it's learning by studying all these different pieces. When you have a synthetic voice, oftentimes what's happened is that voice has learned how to put the AI has learned how to put its voice together from different voices, or from one key voice and then messing other things in, but the performance is still copyrightable.
And that's what I expected the answer to be, but I'm sure that somebody would have had that question.
Of course. So I'm not worried about that I'm going to be replaced, because I had a short story for the Dark podcast, because I'm also the podcast producer for them, and they put out one short story a month, and it's all like weird horror fantasy stuff, and there's some really, really good stuff in there. But the creepiness factor, not the creep, that's a totally different genre. The creepiness factor, I don't think AI can do that, because you're modulating your volume, you're modulating your pitch, you're modulating the breathing, and that it takes too much time to program.
I think having Siri read your spicy romance is bad.
Oh, yes. Please. Do we really need that? I mean,
I don't know. That stirred my loins. I mean, that,
I think there's our tagline for this show. That stirred my loins. Oh boy.
Desk, you know what I mean? I think the crux of the issue really is that it's performance versus just reading aloud. And when we're talking reading aloud, we're talking quasi text to speech reading aloud. It'll have a lot of emphasis on the right syllables, but it's not going to know how to say names that we make up. It's not going to know how to say or put certain emphasis in certain situations, like you're talking about when you're writing suspense. 50 Shades of AI. Thank you, Chuck. But that's going to make the difference. And I was going to bring this up because I was listening to your diatribe, and actually it wasn't diatribe enough for me. So you're in trouble.
Diatribic? Is there a
word
there? I don't know.
Enough. It wasn't ranty enough for my tastes.
I can't be the angry chick the first show I'm in. I mean, I got to ease into that.
All right, Paul, you go ahead and be the angry chick.
Yeah, be the angry
so bitches, here's how it works. I'm going to get canceled. Okay, so basically what it comes down to is the independent authors are saying we need an option. And what's interesting is the disabled people are saying we need an option.
I don't disagree with that.
This is where things get interesting. So what I propose in my head, okay, in my mind, the solution is this. Thank you, Tim. My solution would be that if they're going to have anything, Terry, stop. I'm trying to be serious here. I know it's difficult, but at least once per show, man. I gotta say something semi-profound. Let me have my moment, man. What the fuck was I saying? I think that if that's going to happen, then it needs to be a different storefront. It needs to be, if you're going to sell the AI generated, it needs to be in a separate storefront. It needs to be a fuckload cheaper, and it needs to not be integrated with the other stuff that is performance at all. They should not be mixed at all, ever, ever, ever.
I know that the Amazon device, which I'm not going to mention the name because then it'll think I'm, talking to it, will read an ebook to you if you don't have the audiobook. If you've bought it, it will read it to you in their voice.
Right. Yes. The other part of this that irks me and that I don't quite understand is V was saying earlier about the fact that they're using models to train these voices. What is not clear is how they're using and where they're getting that data from.
There are two ways. So one, there are people, there are companies where if you audition or you do a book for them, a part of the contracts actually have a bit in there that say we can use your voice for AI.
Oh, fucking God.
Yeah. Guess what I don't sign? Guess what a lot of people don't sign? Because that's shady as anything. There are other cases where narrators have licensed their voices to be part of AI and their NDAs over it. Currently a big thing where there was a discussion in a couple of both author groups and Facebook group and narrator groups on Facebook, where people were trying to figure out who a certain AI voice was modeled on because it sounded so close to this person or this person or this person. And it's problematic because, it's like, oh my gosh, one of your own has, signed their soul and, gone down the dark path of AI. And you can't speculate on that because now, if that's not the case, what is it, slander?
Yeah,
you've impugned them.
There we go. That's the verb. Verbs are important.
Libel.
Yeah.
Actionable libel.
Because, and you can't do that.
Libel is written, isn't it? Or is it slander that's written? I think slander's audible and libel is written. Not sure.
Yes. So it would be, it could be both, depending upon what your forum is. If it's on somebody's wall in our group and it's typed, it's libel.
It means V is the voice of reason.
I have you all fooled.
3 hosts that make Paul the comic relief, and then yeah, not
Voice
sure, but
of
it means
reason.
the V is the voice of reason. It's so wrong.
She says she's just as bad as us. I have yet to see proof of this.
Well, I listened to her narrate a couple of my saucy characters, and I know what she's capable of.
We're gonna have to bring out. We're gonna have to bring out the cards and do the NC-17 deck, and we're gonna have to make sure.
You do realize at Balticon I became a card, right?
That's right. That's right. I don't remember the details, but yes,
Veronica's red dress was a card. It was an answer card at Balticon.
That's right. I forgot all about that.
I got the family edition of Cards Against Humanity. That was the best $20 I ever invested. I have scared all of my children.
My wife is a collector. She does. I collect role playing games, even though I don't play them. She collects Cards Against Humanity variants, and she's got like 50,000 cards, and we have not had a chance to even play them in years. So we've got plenty. We can do this.
Oh, we could. But yeah, it's. I don't have to worry about like scarring you guys. I have to worry about scarring my children. It's like I can't. That card would be great.
You don't worry about that. That's all part of the gig, man. That's one of the boons. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to damage them in your image.
Yes, but some of them are not 18 yet, and I don't need to go that far.
Do you know when I saw Animal House?
Yes, and look how you turned out.
Yeah, granted, Skyfall was my youngest's favorite movie when she was 9, so what does that say about me as a parent? But
haven't seen it. Is Paul or Terry a card yet?
I have a card.
There's no, there ain't a card there big enough to handle that kind of action. Tim says I got a card in here. The term was raised, not damaged, when it came to children. Well, you see, there are many different schools of philosophy regarding the upbringing of children. I happen to subscribe to a different school than you. That is all. It's all very up on the up and up, I promise. I don't know. I think back to the AI thing, like Terry and I talked about last time. I can't remember if you were on that show or not. That the Copyright Office has got a lot of work to do very quickly, and I'm not. Neither one of us is very optimistic that that's going to happen, but it needs to.
Yeah, people are going to flock to it as a cheap alternative and a quick money grab, and I think it's just going to be more detrimental because I fall back on it. How do you want to represent your book and your work? That's if you're gonna complain that you have to have a good cover and invest in layout and all this. Same thing with audio. How are you gonna best represent your words? Because you spent all that time on it, and now.
Well, this is going to be part of the issue. I think that like you said, it's a money grab. Mm-hmm. I think this is all the machine learning language, all the machine learning bullshit that they're selling you now. I can tell you that I played around with IBM Watson. It was dumb as a fucking post. Do not believe any of this shit. A lot of it is it's nothing more than syntactic calculus going on back there.
Yeah,
and
you have to know how to ask the question to get the right kinds of answers.
Correct. So the idea that you're going to have a fleet of computers start writing good scripts or able to discern nuance, we're a ways away from that. But they're going to try and sell you on this just like they tried to sell you on self-driving. How's that going, Elon? And they're going to, because it's just the next money grab. It really is. And so everything is going to be ML, just like now everything has to be internet. Everything has to have a lithium ion battery. Everything has to have this. It's all about selling you the next generation of shit. And this is just the next. So this is all kind of fucked up
It's going to end up being a two-tiered environment.
Yeah.
The people that don't care will consume it. The people that do probably won't.
Mm-hmm.
What I would love to do is have a registry where people or companies can register what goes in their models. Because why not? Make it public. In other words, we're using voices from whomever, XYZ in our model, and that we can prove that that's in our model, and that we don't have Veronica Jaguar's voice in there.
True, but then you may have, on the flip side, you may have an actor who is licensing their voice, but they don't want it to be known that they're licensing their voice because of the blowback that they'll get from people in their community.
Well, that would be their fucking problem.
I understand it's their fault, but you look at who's gonna make those agreements and who's gonna do the bargaining.
I know. I said the way I'd like it. I'm not saying that it's the hand waving bullshit. I think that there's going to have to be some kind of consensus decision made. I think there's going to have to be some kind of decision made by all the folks that are putting this stuff out there. What is your problem? Don't laugh at my blundering babbling.
Decisions.
Huh?
Decisions.
What did you say, Sean? Sean Connery?
It's obvious that, I was planning on opening this later, but it's obvious I need this little, scotch now because I need.
Is that the medicinal size?
This was the Christmas size.
Stocking stuffer size.
The stocking stuffer size. I think the distribution networks are the ones who are really going to make the decision as to where this is going. The problem is now Apple's jumped into this shit. They are a distribution network.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I got a big problem with that. I told my wife all about it. She says they'll get right on that. So, yeah, I think that, but it's going to be the same thing with literature. It's going to be the same thing with all of it. The movie companies tried to do this shit a long time ago. This is their ultimate goal. They were dumping a lot of the technology into try and reproduce actors in 3D so that they didn't have to pay them. Mm. So they've tried this again and again and again, and it's getting closer. And trust me when I tell you that Hollywood would love nothing better than to never have to pay an actor again.
Oh, yeah.
Cagney's going to be big again.
So, just kind of keep that in mind. That's kind of where this shit's going. But so much of it is garbage hype that it gets kind of difficult to ferret out what's there and what's not. And I don't know it. I haven't plunged into it well enough, so I'll admit my ignorance there. But from what I've seen thus far, I think that that's where this is all headed. And granted, I haven't listened to one of these.
It's interesting.
So you have listened to one?
I've listened to a few. Now was it last year? It was last year, and I was doing an online conference, and one of the sponsors for the conference was a publishing company that was using AI. And I was less than pleased with their responses. I was less than pleased with their response to me because one of my questions was, how about when you're talking about inflection and performance of something and you've got complex texts where, gosh darn it, then a lot of it is in the delivery. It's how you emphasize something, how you talk around a concept in order for people to understand it. So AI can't do that. And when I asked them about reading comprehension and listening comprehension, I actually got I'm not sure this person knows the question they're asking if they really know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do. And I probably have more educational research experience than you, buddy. I did not like the talking down that I got. It was not cool. Really not cool. And yeah.
No, you're right. Without the language comprehension, you
Yeah.
can't program responses. You can't program any kind of
No, and people don't
detection.
get when you're writing about it for sci-fi. If you're writing about traveling at, the speed of light, or beyond the speed of light, or you're talking about concepts that you're making up based on some tiny little bit of scientific, reality that you've grafted your world onto, sometimes figuring out how to deliver that explanation is what keeps your listener, pulling in, keep them, engaged. So it's what it showed me is that these people who are putting out those books are not listeners. They're not
Yeah,
readers. They're not
right.
in it for the story and the performance and the characters.
And see that's the biggest problem I have with these MLs is that's not their that is not their goal is to make a great listening experience. Their goal is going to be to make something good enough.
Yeah.
And if they don't understand nuance and they're not people who consume it, then they're not going to have idea of what all that is. That's the problem I have. It will get there in time. It will probably get there. I don't know how long it will take.
I think you're attributing too lofty of a goals to them because they're aiming for not quite good enough.
You're probably right. You're probably right. This is
And
after all
granted,
Apple and Amazon.
And granted, this is a case of where they don't need one person to go and buy all 5 books in a series and listen to it. They need 10 people to take a chance, and maybe they decide, oh, this sucks, but they're too lazy to get their money back. They've still got 10 sales.
Yeah, that's true. It's not going to be a easy situation to go down. I mean, even when we're talking here, it's like when I brought up, accessibility for the blind. It'd be great to have a service like that because of them
Well,
being
but
able to get it. But
and
my
that's the
response to
thing.
that is there's this thing called a library card.
Well, that and the Library of Congress, there are plenty of books out there that get recorded, not because not because they're going to go for sale in audio, but because they're accessible.
Right.
So, was the quality going to be there? No, maybe not. Maybe it's not someone who's been narrating for years and years and years and has a bunch of performance experience, but it's still going to be a human voice and someone who is doing it to tell a story rather than just, put the words out.
One of the famous serial killers, and I can't remember his name. He killed, I think, 7 or 8 women, maybe more than that. And at one point, he just said, "I'm done," and he turned himself in. You guys aren't going to catch me, so I'm just going to, I'm done. He basically turned himself in. I can't remember his name. Anyway, he narrated something like over 150 or 200 audiobooks for Library of Congress while he was in prison because he had this really good, deep baritone voice.
I think I know who you're talking about because they featured him on.
Well,
I know he was in one documentary, but I think he was actually he was featured
he's
or
a
he was
character in that
in Mindhunter. That's what it is.
Yeah, Mindhunter. He's a character in it. That guy.
Okay,
So
I
I
can
can't remember
get
his name.
that, and that's creepy as anything. Ugh.
Isn't it? A little
Yeah.
creepy that his voice
You
has
don't
been
know
heard by
who's
hundreds of
actually
thousands
reading
of
your
people.
stories to you.
Yeah. Anyway, regardless, there are people who made those books available. What I heard somebody opine today, though, was that most of the books, of course, are going into ACX as exclusives and therefore never make it to libraries, which is an issue. Absolutely an issue. And that I don't know how to get around. So in that particular case, I can see where Amazon would want to try and provide, or Apple for that matter, try and provide a solution to get around that. But I understand the problem set. I don't agree with the solution, if that makes any sense. I would say maybe Amazon could stop being a CUNT and allow wider distribution or include distribution to libraries. That would be kind of nice.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Ooh, Cal, you bring up an interesting point there with machine learning on nonfiction, but fiction. I will counter that because nonfiction is often really difficult to understand for some complex things. And in order to stay engaged, I mean, nonfiction, and sometimes it's harder to narrate than fiction because you have to maintain that same energy level to keep somebody engaged. And you're not just telling a story, you're talking to a small audience. And to keep that going for 6 or 8 hours, it's tiring.
For something with a limited audience, your listener is going to be Professor Von Bubblehead, and he is going to just lose his mind at the mispronunciation of certain scientific terms.
Mm-hmm.
You said Gilead instead of Gilead, you uncultured swine.
Yeah, no, there's, I mean, one of my pet peeves is accents. And because I have an ear for certain things, and
you must hate listening to my shit.
No, it's not that. It's if someone says they're from a certain place and I know the accent.
Okay.
I listened to the first book in a series, and it was based in Louisville, Kentucky. So, it is Louisville. It is not Louisville. It is not Louisville. I will smack somebody. It's Louisville.
Yeah. So, based on accents, where exactly is Benoit Blanc from?
Who the fuck knows?
Who cares?
Somewhere around Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Who the hell knows? By way of Tennessee.
Someplace where they make impeccably pressed slacks and killer cravats.
And awesome mint juleps.
Oh, yes.
Incredible mint juleps.
Yes. Anyway, we'll go into the whole glass onion thing.
You just had to derail everything, didn't you, Terry?
Yes, okay. I did.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. So, but they mispronounced. The narrator mispronounced Louisville, and the series was set in Kentucky, and all the characters were from that area, almost like a legacy family. This was a romance thing. And I was like, I can't. Like, I could forgive like a couple little accent tweaks there with that flavor of Kentucky accent that you find around horse farms and in the the bourbon world and the racing world there. But it's just like, oh, I wound up checking out the other 2 books to read on my own because I didn't care for that immersion. My expectations were going to be better if I read it to myself than have somebody read it to me. And I mean, there's certain things where I'm like, I cannot believe you mispronounced that. Or they're flubs that I'll go, that didn't get caught in post. That's interesting. Maybe I'm not so bad. So
you got to watch out for foliage.
Foliage.
Yes, foliage. That crazy fall foliage.
Where is it? Tim says, as far as nonfiction goes, it's possible some of these little web articles are able to be completely written by AI programs already. Yes, that is correct. And in fact, if you think about it, if you just wanted a summation of the news, really all this program would have to do is go look at the headlines. It wouldn't even have to go much deeper than that, unfortunately, to write most of these articles. That's what's really scary. It would really just have to go after the headline in the first or second or third paragraph, and that's it, to basically summarize. I mean, stuff like Raw Story, Up Rocks, and things like that, I really wonder if that's really all they are.
Yeah.
Then there was the other one. Call says, TBF, I hear a lot of things mispronounced by actors in audiobooks, so it's not that much of a diff to me. Veronica and I are going to be different because we hear, and I hate my voice and I hate my diction and every other part. And when somebody else is worse than I am, that's bad.
Yeah,
Oh, Dean. Oh my God. Thanks for that.
Try it.
Try it now.
Oh, gracious.
There was a filter you could install on a Drupal, I think it was, and would turn all the menus into redneck. So turn like all the menu options and everything else into redneck slang. It was absolutely ludicrously funny. It was ridiculous. I almost put it on for my client because it would have been so fitting. Anyway.
Anyway. Oh yeah, Matt with living in Britain and hearing what a lot of non-British people think a British accent is. Yes. And it's interesting because one, if you know what you're doing, you specify what kind of British accent. Where are you from? What region are you from? How long have you lived there? And for my part, I have taken a grand total of 1 accent class where I worked on British RP. But I've done an entire 6 or 7 books where the main character was from Oxford, and so I could get away with standard British RP, and everyone else around there lived in London. I could tweak like a side. There was a group that was in the Northumberland, and then there was a South African character and a couple others that would come and go. But yeah, if you know the accent and you're listening, you are going to pick up on tiny things.
Matt, those of us who watch the BBC know that.
Yeah, it's the first thing that you technically learn is British RP, and depending upon what you want to watch on Netflix to brush up on, you take it way too far into like your Queen's English, or
you get Cockney.
Oh, you vie for the worst accent ever with Dick Van Dyke. I mean,
now there's a couple of
there's one worse. Sean Connery tried to do Russian.
Oh. Now,
don't you knock Run for Red October? Let me have my one sacred movie.
No, yes. That was horrible. That was awful.
I'm not saying it was great, but just let me have my tiny little. I can quote everything.
You've got those shows that have the British detective in it that is so incomprehensible that you have to turn on the subtitles because you have no idea what they've said. Turning up the volume doesn't help. You have no idea what was just said. I want to hear the audiobook narrated in an accent so thick no one can understand it.
Clearly, you have not found some of these books where I mean, literally auditions will say like, so he's from Scotland, but he moved to Ireland when he was 5, but his mom is actually from Jamaica, and there was this lovely. I remember another conversation that was going on in one of the narrator groups, how many of us had to convince them that just because your parents, if you're a first generation in the US and your parents are from somewhere else, you can grow up without having your parents' accent on your English, but you can still speak your mother tongue fluently. And they're like, doesn't they have like some weird accent? I'm like, no, married one. He does not sound French Canadian at all. He has a screaming Connecticut accent. But he can slip into Quebecois like that. Deep sea monster horror. Why are we mentioning Jake Bible here? I feel like that's Jake Bible. I feel like that's a Jake Bible reference somewhere.
It's a Paul Cooley reference.
Well, I mean, that too.
Now I feel triple insulted.
Well, that's the thing.
Triple insulted.
But the thing is, when I hear you, I don't think like screaming Texan accent.
No, I don't.
There's
have
like
it's
not.
Let's put it on as an affectation.
It's not there.
No. Some people don't even understand where I'm from. They get very confused.
Same here.
Just scary. Yeah, I hate all of you in chat. You can bite me. Totally bite me. That was funny. Dick.
part of the problem, not the solution.
I'm happy that the Brits and Aussies who listen to me have never called out my accent. They probably are just die laughing when they hear me trying to do it, but I've never actually been called out for it about it being completely, totally awful. So that means all of you are talking behind my back.
Yeah, I figure if the Brit author keeps hiring me to do her
there you go.
thrillers,
Yeah. You must be doing a serviceable
something
job.
right.
Yeah. Must be doing a serviceable job. That's the important bit. Anyway, it was funny. So has there been any more movement on the PRH thing? Penguin Random House? There been any more new bullshit to come out of that?
I'm not sure what else could come out of it. The court ruling was what it was,
but there are still ramifications. Like, how many people are they going to lay off as a result of that?
I have no idea.
Yeah. The hate mail was sent by USPS. Well, that's the wrong one. This one. Sad monkeys. You're all sad monkeys. That's all I'm going to say on this. Well, let's see. What time is it? Okay,
50 minutes in.
50 minutes in. Okay,
so we can't really start a brand new topic before
we can start taking questions from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
We can start doing that. So, by the way, Dean, I'm glad you're enjoying her. Whoever that was it Dean? I think it was Dean. For an Ancient Trap. Yeah, you guys, the shit just hit the fan. Oh, it's Matt. Okay. Just got the one where they meet some green lights, which means their lives are about to turn to crap. Bring it on. Okay, so you're just up chapter 14, 15? Yeah, wait till you get to 16.
There's one piece of fallout for you.
Oh, Random has to pay Paramount $200 million. Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's going to be ugly because people are going to pay the price for that. Big time. Roland says he wants his books narrated by Lily Allen or Kate Nash. Not familiar with either of them.
Lily Allen, the singer?
Well, I don't know.
Because she's got a very unique voice.
Oh, Random House, there was a part of a deal at the merger didn't go through that there was like a pill payment.
Simon and Schuster.
Simon and Schuster.
Mm-hmm. And Simon and Schuster is owned by Paramount.
Which is probably owned by a SPAC, which is probably owned by the Saudi family, and God only knows who else. You don't even want to ask.
Can't we just be owned by the LIV, the Saudi Golf Club? I mean, that would be better, right?
I'm going to fucking ignore that you said that. We are going to move on to a different topic of conversation.
I see nothing.
So I asked my patrons in a poll yesterday, and only like 28 or 29 of them responded this far, about Ancient Trap, what the progress was, if they felt they've been bored, or if they were enjoying it, or if they weren't listening because I'm a cliffhanger and bastard. And 20% have said they're not listening because I'm a cliffhanger and bastard. B-Man actually sent me a text going, "Hey, where's the next one? Where's the next chat? What are you doing here? You left this guy completely and totally fucked. Where's the next chapter? We need to find out what's going on." It's like, oh, it's going to be a while for you to see that. Isn't that terrible? Just awful. Maybe you should beta read. Anyway.
That it's a good way to get beta readers. If you don't want to be in this particular situation, well then.
Well, it's like
go to this tier.
If you do it well enough and you got it, like if well, maybe I can carry that off with this book. If I have the podcast start up at the same time as the audiobook's ready, the paperback's ready, the ebook's ready, then, by a third of the way through the book, people are hooked. They're going to be like, I have to wait another 20 weeks to find out what happens. Yeah. Or you can go buy the audiobook or the paperback, an ebook, and rage at me while you listen to it. Singers, any inner city London accents. Ah, okay. Huh. Are there any singers that do audiobooks that you know of, V?
Yeah, there are plenty of people who have vocal training who do audiobooks. But the one thing to remember is that audiobooks, in terms of voice work and voiceover, they really are at the tail end. So it's a very, very lower level in terms of amount paid per time spent. It's not like, commercial voiceover where you've got 2 minutes of copy, if that, and you're getting paid thousands of dollars for it.
No, you've got 100,000 words to read, and you're going to get paid such and such per finished hour.
Exactly. And that doesn't include the time you're going to spend prepping and, all those other happy things.
That is a lot of work.
So a lot of actors who do audiobooks, they do it to fill in the space between. Whereas you've got people like me who, this is what I do. So
right. Okay, fair enough. I was just thinking about. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just wondering about quality. I would imagine a singer probably could do great if they have the ear for nuance.
Yeah, if they can perform it, if they can act, because there are plenty of singers who can't act.
Yeah, that's the problem. You also kind of have to be an actor, unless you're going to do a straight read. And even then, you got to have a feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
Still got to have a feel for it. The Street will not be republished. That's not happening.
That's not on your shelf. It'll never be on your shelf.
Well, I have a few of them on my shelf.
Is that saying somebody should send you a private message and, see what can be worked out?
I couldn't possibly sell those. That would get me in so much trouble.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Couldn't possibly sell those. No. Oh, Call says, if you want to hear a good inner city London accent, Kobna Holbrook Smith. I'm sure I slaughtered that on the Ben Aranovich Rivers of London series. I've never even heard of this. That's stuff to check out. I am interested in accents. I wish I did them better. I wish I had the ear for it, but it's, like right now, both my hearing aids are now shot. I have to send the right one's busted, and I have to send the left one back in because today the mic started doing what it was doing before, only not with loud screeching, more like a rat-a-tat-tat of percussion. So now I have, 40-50% of my hearing right now is my left ear screaming. It's lovely. So it's kind of fucking up everything right now. Yeah, the hits just keep on coming, and they're not going to stop because,
So you're like the Van Gogh of podcasters.
Van Gogh
1 year only.
Van Gogh did that on his own. Mine is kind of, I was not asked permission. This is just happening. So it's bad. I have a punk hearing aid. No, this is more like a garage band where the kids are like 12 years old and the guitar is detuned. And there's a monkey banging on a snare drum while the guitar's thumping away, and the bass is really just a cat walking on the strings. That's not punk. Although I guess it's about as punk as it gets, really.
There's a commercial that has people saying that they have an animal in the attic, and it's Animal from the Muppets bashing on drums and whatnot.
I saw
That's
that.
your life.
That was awesome. That was awesome. I love that commercial. Love that commercial. Well, anything with animals is gonna make my day.
So we are at the 59-minute mark. We should tell everybody what's going to happen next, because we're going to try to keep the public shows down to around an hour. But for the Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee supporters, we're going to go ahead and have a separate, perhaps less formal chat. Who knows what Veronica's going to say during this other, there's no telling.
It's the private show where DRS gets down and nasty.
I don't think that's going to be the case, but sure. So when we leave out of here, those of you that support us on either of those platforms should already have a link, and we'll be there in about 10 minutes, and
They don't have a link yet.
They don't.
They don't have
Paul
a
is
link
so
yet.
organized. That is how organized Paul is. He hasn't said anything yet, and
They're
he's
gonna get
going to
the-
do that.
I have the links. I thought I put them in. They're scheduled to go off. I got to go manually do them and cut them over.
And there we go. Tim now has the name. It is DRS After Dark. That's what it's going to be. There you are.
The bad news about that is that leads to an acronym of DAD, which is
DRSAD,
scarily appropriate.
Or Dr. Sad.
DRS After Dark spells DAD. There's some
no,
issues
DRS
there.
After Dark spells Dr. Sad.
Dr. Sad. Oh, I like it.
Well, if you have a comment or a question about this episode, you can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can find me on Mastodon at Paul_E_Cooley at VYRSE.social. You can find us on Facebook at the listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, where all the crazy kids hang out with Terry. I am not doing lap dances for anyone. You stop that. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. We have to thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us at Patreon. Wow, my voice cracked there. What the hell was that? If you want to support the show, you can. You know, why? Just why? Why did you feel like you needed to do that? If you want to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast or buymeacoffee.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support the show and get access to live exclusive
after shows.
Live after shows where we get down and dirty and nasty, whatever the hell that even means. So, did I capture everything? Because you screwed me up completely, and now I can't remember anything. Oh, yeah, and at the $10 level, where you get your name right, and our $10 patrons are Tony L. Joy, for some Veronica person, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you very much, all of you, for supporting the show, everybody. Now that we have our third chair, we can do this a little bit more often. You guys always think I forget. And then you make it look like I forgot. The reason why I almost missed that part is I was already thinking about how I was going to do this. The three of us are caffeine junkies, and we get our coffee from corpsecoffee.com. Visit corpsecoffee.com. Check out their array of coffees, both bean and ground. Their array of boutique teas, their wonderfully weird webcomic, their swag, and tell them DRS sent you. Visit corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup. And with that, we are out of here. I will have links to you people on Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. And yes, I called you people for you in just a moment. And that will be that. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us. And it was wonderful to see you and hang out. And we will be back here next week.
See you in a few minutes, patrons.
There later.
Time to get down and dirty and